You could argue that Daniel Cormier has been in 3 of the 10 best light heavyweight fights in UFC history. Cormier lost 2 of those historic bouts to Jon Jones, but he won the other matchup, earning a split decision victory over Alexander Gustafsson at UFC 192. The contest with the Mauler was Cormier's first title defense. During the 25-minute war, Cormier learned the axiom that it's easier to win than defend is not an empty phrase. Cormier was effective with his wrestling and ground fighting in the first round, but for the remaining 4 frames, the 2 fighters battled on their feet. Cormier did his best work in the clinch with short uppercuts, while Gustafsson scored using his length and with a brutal knee that dropped Cormier to the mat in the 3rd round. After the victory, Cormier thanked his opponent for such a stern test.
I'm here with the winner, Daniel Cormier. Daniel, what did you just say? You said he made you better tonight?
Joe, I'm going away from promos, and I'm just going to be myself. Thank you, Alexander Gustafsson. You made me a better man and fighter tonight. I will forever be indebted to you and your performance tonight. Alex, thank you. Thank you.
When UFC 214 came to an end, a frustrated, disoriented, and heartbroken Cormier watched as UFC President Dana White wrapped the light heavyweight title around Jon Jones' waist. After he reclaimed the title from Cormier with a 3rd-round head kick knockout, Jones had nothing but praise for his opponent.
I want to take this time to thank Daniel Cormier for being my biggest rival and motivator. Daniel Cormier, guys, he has absolutely no reason to hang his head. He has been a model champion, a model husband, a model father, a teammate, leader, and I aspire to be a lot more like that man because he's an amazing human being. Unfortunately, we are opponents, but outside of that, he is a true champion for the rest of his life.
With that, it seemed like the bitter rivalry that began with a backstage conversation at UFC 121 when Jones told Cormier, "I bet you that I could take you down," had been put to rest. Something Cormier tearfully acknowledged during his brief interview with UFC broadcaster Joe Rogan.
What can you say at all about this and the rivalry between you and Jon?
I don't know, man. I guess if you win both fights, there is no rivalry, so I don't know.
Thank you for everything, Daniel. Daniel Cormier, ladies and gentlemen.
The UFC returned the belt to Cormier less than 2 months after UFC 214. Jones was stripped of the title after the California State Athletic Commission declared the fight a no contest due to Jones failing an in-competition drug test after he weighed in for the matchup. USADA and the CSAC will determine Jones' future. Depending on the punishment, the Cormier versus Jones rivalry could live to see another day. Jones has been responsible for 3 of the most heartbreaking moments of Daniel Cormier's career. For better or worse, we've been privy to each of those. After Cormier lost the decision to Jones at UFC 182, the vanquished challenger was briefly consoled by teammate Cain Velasquez in a moment the UFC captured via Vine. A second raw moment occurred when White informed Cormier that Jones had failed a drug test and was off the UFC 200 card. Cormier, the champion at the time, was despondent. The UFC cameras were there to capture him trying to process what White was telling him. Most recently, after Jones knocked him out at UFC 214, Cormier stood in the octagon and wept while being interviewed by Joe Rogan. All 3 moments were incredibly raw and emotional, something Cormier discussed with former UFC fighter Mike Swick.
If you're not willing to cry for something that you failed to achieve, then it really didn't matter all that much. I commit myself so completely to these goals that if I don't accomplish them, it makes me sad.